All right, let's bring in our guests now. Mr. Folari Oworu, Coordinator, Planning and Program, Presidential CNG Initiative. Thank you very much for joining us on Weekend File.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, sharing news for commercial drivers, and we're seeing that initiative come at just the nick of time when we're seeing the high cost of transportation daily. Let me put it that way. What benefit will this have, especially for people who use this transportation?
Thank you for that question. Very simply, it's to reduce the cost of transportation for those entering the vehicles. CNG is much cheaper than petrol, so number one, it's going to reduce the cost for the owner of the vehicle. And what we are trying to ensure is that the vehicle operators translate these savings also to the end user, in essence, driving down the cost of transportation.
Okay, so the initiative is also extending to, we hear, boat drivers, Uber and the likes. 50% discount. Why the disparity?
First of all, these rideshare operators are privately owned. They're not necessarily, they're not for government. So first of all, our priority is to start on the larger scale. Rideshare operators are still a smaller percentage when it comes to public transportation. So we're trying to deal with the larger volume first. Then this 50% is just an introductory to them. So it won't be, we're starting with just buses and not considering the taxis. So eventually, hopefully, maybe that 50% can further reduce.
Okay, and from the report we saw, of course, it's Oworu for transport operators and also people who apply that means of transportation. But one major concern is that people or other private vehicle owners are apprehensive for this conversion. People are not sure what will happen to their vehicles, safety and all of that. We know it's cheaper, but what other benefits can you tell us about the CNG conversion?
So firstly, it's cheaper. As you just mentioned, it's better for your car. You've got better health for your car. Gas is not like PMS that is combustible, that takes an effect on your engine. With CNG, you don't have to even service your car as frequently as you would with PMS. It's safer, it's cleaner for the environment. The smog and the pollution we're all breathing in would reduce. It's cheaper, it's better for the country economically. Nigeria is a gas nation. What people need to understand, it's more of a gas nation than it is an oil nation. So this gas we have in abundance. Economically, it's much more better to utilize what it is you have in country. Yes, the oil we have in country too, but as everyone knows, this is something we export to later import at a higher price. This, it's not the same with CNG. CNG also would not be exposed to the shocks of outside influences. Currently today, if something was to happen in Russia or any of these other oil-producing countries, it affects the price of petrol in our country, petrol and diesel. But natural gas is not the same. It's not exposed to such shocks. We have it in abundance. We have it in over 30 states of the 36. So it's not an issue of, it's mostly an issue for me, for economically, one for the country, and it saves us on what we're spending on subsidy. I think subsidy, we spend close to 2 trillion naira per month on subsidy, which is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense for an oil-producing nation or for a gas-producing nation.
Okay, and I also hear 4,000 naira can fill a cylinder at 200 standard cubic meter. That could cover more than 150 kilometers. Now, that is quite, that is something I should consider, right? But let's take a break. We'll be back with the conversation. Mr. Folari Oworu is still around. You followed the conversation, rather the reports. And earlier I asked you about the safety, which we're seeing from our, from some of the respondents there say they enjoy using the CNG means of transportation. But another concern is the refilling centers, talking about refilling stations, which is not readily available at every point like you have for the petrol, which, of course, is the role of the private sector, I understand. But what are you getting from, that's talking about the PCNGI?
Thank you for that question. So this is not solely the responsibility of the private sector. NNPC, as you're aware, or you might not be aware, in the last 1 week, in collaboration with other operators, launched over 12 stations around, both in Abuja and Lagos. So in Abuja, they launched 6, in Lagos, they launched 6 also. NIPCO PLC in Lagos, people would have definitely seen a few of their stations pop up here and there with CNG. So as I say, Rome was not built in a day. Yes, we admit that at the moment, the refueling stations are not anywhere close to where the PCNGI would like it to be at the moment. We have plans to, alongside, NNPC has their plans also, to roll out as many stations as possible before the end of this year. They're also building mother stations. Mother stations is where the gas is compressed. There's a few springing up around the nation. The NMDPRA is currently logged with licenses. They're currently, there's a backlog of people seeking licenses to build various infrastructures around Nigeria. So one thing everyone must understand, this is a new initiative. CNG has been around for a while. We've been, you know, there have been a few people trying to do CNG, some LPG here and there. But it's now, due to the pressure or due to the direction of our president, that it's all hands on deck now. The subsidy has been taken off. There's no going back. We have to press on forward. And this is the best solution for now. So,
and I know it's all about, you know, providing sustainable energy solutions, you know, for the country. But of course, investment in this initiative will keep this, will keep it afloat. Now, you've just talked about the only means that is available right now to ease the burden after the removal of fuel subsidy. What are you getting, you know, from the private sector? We're seeing this initiative come alive with the free aspect for commercial drivers. Also, private sector, people who will drive their vehicles, you know, private individuals will want to just convert it, and it's not cheap. So what kind of investment, you know, is the federal government getting from other sectors?
Since the beginning of this initiative, we've recorded well over $100 million in private revenue, in private investments for CNG infrastructures. You have private companies, like I said, NIPCO, you have BOVAS, they have stations springing up all over the nation. These are private institutions who have seen the roadmap. They're supporting the Mr. President's initiative. They are businessmen, so they understand that with demand, the supply obviously, you know, comes in.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to do at the PCNG is to be able to catalyze this demand. If we can convert more and more vehicles on the road, apart from the refueling stations that the government is going to put in place through various agencies, the NNPC and the PCNGI, like I mentioned earlier, more and more private sector operators would see this opportunity. They would see this niche in the market, and they would put in the right investments to be able to satisfy the growing demand.
And I know part of the push for the PCNGI has been the acceptance, adoption, and of course awareness rather, by the general populace to accept this alternative means of fueling, let's put it that way. But awareness is of concern here because a lot of people are still left in the dark. They still don't understand the benefits and why they should just bring out that money and go and convert. Is there a strategy in place or mechanism in place to boost this awareness?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. Also, as you mentioned, only simply because the average Nigerian or the average human's interaction with gas is mostly when it comes to cooking. With cooking now, I refer to LPG. And this will also make me touch on safety concerns that have been expressed to us in the past or currently, and I expect we'll get more questions or concerns about it. I would like to first of all categorically say that LPG and CNG, because they have gas in the wordings, are not the same thing. LPG is a derivative of petrol, which makes it more combustible than CNG. CNG is compressed natural gas, and it's at a high pressure. It is not easy because it's lighter than air. If there was to be a leakage anywhere, it quickly evaporates into the air, not allowing it to even catch or for any ignition to have any effect on it, compared to LPG that we have in our tanks in our homes. And we still, I mean, yes, there are safety concerns of putting cylinders in your homes, but every home in Nigeria has a cylinder, if not inside, just by the door. So concerns for CNG are not, well, I mean, we're going to enlighten the populace more, to let people know. We've started various campaigns, various media campaigns to be able to show the safety, the safe nature of CNG compared to that of petrol, diesel, or LPG. So also you mentioned about the pricing. Yes.
Very crucial.
Yes, I agree. Unfortunately, a lot of the infrastructure required, a lot of the equipment required for these CNG conversions are unfortunately not being produced domestically at the moment. This is a separate drive of the PCNGI. We are trying to ensure that every aspect of the entire value chain, the gas is domesticated already, like that we know. The equipment, unfortunately, is still exposed to shocks of foreign exchange rates and all that. So in the event that the Naira was to get devalued against whatever currency it is we're buying the equipment in.
The kits.
Unfortunately, yes, the Naira price would go up. But I can assure Nigerians that we are seriously working towards it at the moment to domesticate every aspect of the manufacturing process in line with SON and a few other agencies to be able to make these kits available domestically, which would, you know, like to a very large extent, drive down the prices of the kits.
And also make the conversion affordable for every Nigerian, because now the commercial vehicle owners are elated. I mean, they're happy, rather, for this initiative, and we must commend the federal government for that. But incentive for private users, any hope? It's renewed hope we're talking about, right?
Okay, also, because you keep mentioning commercial users. Like I say to you today in Nigeria, majority of the vehicles that have converted to CNG currently are mostly commercial vehicles. There are some that I guess we need to get more of them to be able to share the message with their colleagues. There are plenty cars on the road today that, I mean, if the numbers were to be released, they will surprise most people. They already enjoy. Earlier on, you mentioned you could fill a cylinder with 4,000 naira. The equivalent of petrol is 36,000 naira.
Yes.
So for someone who refills their cars daily.
That's depending on the vehicle, though.
Depending on the vehicle, yes, indeed, of course. Yeah, depending on the size of the engine, depending on the energy, depending on how it's driven. But with such a huge disparity in the pricing, if you're filling gas at 4,000 and you're filling fuel, PMS at 36,000, it's a no-brainer if anyone wants to sit down. Okay. If I'm to refuel every day, how much am I going to save in a month? It's simple maths, and I can assure, even for now, at the high cost, if anyone was to convert their vehicles, they will make that money back in savings in in a very short period, in 2 to 3 months, considering today's pricing. Last year, which was much more cheaper, anyone who converted before November, October last year made their money back in savings in a month.
Okay. Let's just keep hope alive. The CNG initiative has come to stay, no doubt, and we must appreciate the efforts of the federal government. Thank you very much, Mr. Folari Oworu, Coordinator, Planning and Program, Presidential CNG Initiative.